Okay, so let's get started. We're going to talk about future-proofing your SEO with structured data. So first, me in a nutshell. I'm Jori, Jori Ford to be exact. My preferred pronouns, she, her, hers, and I'm the CMO for FoodBoss. And FoodBoss is a search comparison engine for food delivery. Places that I've been in my past, G2, which is a B2B software review platform, Rosetta, which is a Publicis organization, agency side, Performix as well, Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers, and a few brands that I've worked for. Needless to say, these don't matter as much as talking about what's really important today, which is how can we do better as SEOs and prepare for the future? Well, a great visionary once stated, the more you know about the past, the better prepared you are for the future. And I don't know about you, but everybody knows that great man was Doc from Back to the Future. I couldn't even say that with a straight face. No, seriously, we all know that was Teddy Roosevelt. And better words were never said. As SEOs, webmasters, and the like, we have to look to our past to better prepare ourselves for the future of the organic results. We're like coaches. And when you think about coaches, in order to win, you have to look back at what you've done. You have to consider what's changed. Looking at the game, you have to evaluate how those things have changed and what you need to do to adapt. That's how great coaches build out plays that prepare the team for what lies ahead. We as SEOs, we're coaches. We have to coach our organization on the understanding of search engine optimization and visibility. We have to help our engineers by coaching them on ways to implement and comply with best practices. We have to coach our users through their behaviors to better understand what to expect coming from search results to landing on websites. So ultimately, we're coaches. And what we really have to do is consider, what do we have to do and understand about the past that we can establish and apply today to ensure the future of the businesses that we're working with and for? Facts. Google needs data to provide results. We all know this. Google wants us to make it easy to extract data from our websites. That is why webmaster guidelines exist, right? Fact, as Google advances, so does their demand on us, our websites, our businesses, for data. Realistically, the need to make complex data easy to understand continues to persist. It increases. And SEOs, we're pretty good at this. And not just SEOs, marketers in general, right? We're interpreters for everyone. We have to interpret the functionality of the website as a product marketing. We have to explain and communicate our brand through visualization, connections, and communication, brand marketing. We have to make sure that search engines understand how to interpret what our website is relevant to and how to convey that to users in a simplistic manner. Search marketing. So overall, marketers have to make things that are complicated pretty simple for everyone. So what does that mean for us? Why am I talking about structured data? Because Google makes it super simple for us to understand. Add markup, Google understands your page, you get more traffic. That seems pretty self-explanatory to me. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about a few things, but why is this all important? And why does it matter? So we're going to look to the past. We'll travel back to the past to go to the future. Obviously, I like the theme, Back to the Future. And what we'll get to is a point where we understand why structured data is so important and how applying it will allow for us to future-proof our SEO. So let's go on a journey together. I could go a lot further back, but that's a little hard. So let's go 5 years back. We'll start with 2015. And I know you're going to wonder why 2015. Well, RankBrain was pretty pertinent. So we're going to start with RankBrain and work our way back to now. And I think what you're going to find is that incrementally throughout the last 5 years, I can prove that structured data has become increasingly vital to our search results. And that by understanding that, we can build websites that can stand the test of time. Let's go back, way back. No, so let's just go back to 2015 to 2016. This is when RankBrain started to reign supreme. And let me tell you why. Structured data absolutely was introduced before 2015, because I know a bunch of you guys are like, why is 2015 important? But RankBrain for Google was a huge step forward. Why? Well, think about it like this. RankBrain was focused on one major thing: query matching. Not just any kind of query matching, but query matching based on relational entity associations. So remember a few slides back when I said structured data helps Google understand pages. Let's make this really clear. In robot terms, we start with a simple entity relationship defined by users, aka structured data. So even though it says vocabularies covering entities, blah, 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 it's literally just entity relationships defined by users. Again, structured data. So 2017, rise of the knowledge graph. Okay, why is this important? Well, this is the first time we see two features in the search results vying for attention, but they're not just any two features. They're two features driven by structured data. The results continue to add more structured data influence entities or elements into the mix. In many instances, one winning over the other, but we'll see how that goes. Let's talk about another feature introduced in 2017, job listings and search results. So Google continues to introduce variants into the search results to answer questions, but majority of these driven by structured data. It even encourages new markup so that you can get into these search results. So let's talk about 2018. Anybody remember video carousels? In 2018, Google introduced video carousels. Now, what's really cool about this is that the search industry already knew about this. When I say the search industry, I'm talking about GetStat, also known as StatNow, and they were leading the charge. Okay, they noticed this happening before Google even announced and confirmed that it was getting introduced into the results. Now, I want you to think for a second. Can you fathom a search result right now that does not incorporate video carousels? Like, can you think about the last time you searched and didn't see videos? Well, here's another thing to fathom. The video carousels, they were driven by structured data. Google introduced them with video object and said that that was going to be your opportunity to optimize for clips of your video to be included into search results, especially those not hosted on YouTube. Now, let's take this even further. In mobile results, yeah, maybe there's 3 carousel views in desktop, that's massive. But in mobile, it's only 1. So if you're not going to heavily invest into YouTube, you have to make sure that your video data has structured data incorporated into it to show up in the results. So on to 2019, okay? There were some big changes in 2019, namely Burt. You all remember Burt, the infamous, highly misunderstood Burt. So many search experts tried to uncover, demystify, and open up Burt. But simply put, if you think of it in context of structured data, Burt was just the next step in evolving beyond RankBrain, right? RankBrain was set on entity associations, but Burt was an expansion, right? It was the engine's understanding of unknown search queries. Unknown search queries to bring them together to better inform you. So taking disparate data sources that were all related, remember, entity relationships and associations, and bringing them together to make them more clear. More robust results to make sure that your questions were being answered, even if they didn't know quite what your question was about. Big step with machine learning. So let's talk about why. Because Burt learns via structured data. That is why Burt was such a big deal. Google provides a clear definition around what makes Burt unique. It's pre-trained on a plain text corpus, AKA structured sets of text. Google indexes it, tries to learn through logical associations, the intent, and what the content means. The text, that's just data. A large data set that helps Google better understand complex stuff. I'm pretty sure I hit on this before. Structured data? Yeah, Burt learns via structured data. So no matter what year it is, we continue to see the algorithm having a heavy reliance, as well as its enhancements, on structured data. So something massive in 2019 that is not to be overlooked, but also not an algo update, but it's significant. EAT. EAT may not be a confirmed algorithm factor, but structured data and EAT go hand in hand, and it was significant in 2019. And it continues to be significant in content interpretation into 2020. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because those of you who were able to catch Lily Ray, she's amazing. You guys know she covered this topic thoroughly. But what's really worth noting is the Quality Raters Guidelines calls out ratings and reviews. Ratings and reviews specifically as a way to determine the reputation of the creator of the content. Well, if you're an expert in an area, you've been told to mark it up. If you're an authority in the area, well, you can mark up your credentials. And then if you mark up ratings and reviews, you're a trusted expert who's an authority in the space. Needless to say, structured data again wins the day. Okay, so it begins. We've gotten to 2020. There can be only one. Sorry, Danny, I had to do this to you. This is hilarious. But for those of you who know this, it's the Highlander. For those of you who don't, think like Game of Thrones combined with Interview with the Vampire. So why do I say there can only be one? Well, the announcement of featured snippets being deduped happens. So you've got all these great listings and featured snippets reigning supreme, and people are complaining because it's like, wow, these featured snippets allow for people to get double the traffic, double the fun. So now it's no longer fun because they take it away. But Who cares? When you think about it, you dedupe for featured snippets so that there's more listings with more opportunities. But consider this. How many times have you looked at a search listing where there's not structured data, where there's not a way to highlight and feature your result? I'll get more into this a little bit later, but dedupes only give you another way to see more structured data highlights in the SERPs. So what does this mean for the future, and why am I saying this? Well, you have to have structured data for full coverage. How do I know that? Let's talk about right now. Right now, as you can see from the visual, I'm talking about COVID. If you put in a search for what's going on around COVID right now, what you'll see is that as information builds momentum and assets are in high demand with a ridiculous amount of content types, you got news stories, you got all kinds of stuff going on, video, you've got tweets happening, you've got Instagram, you've got Wikipedia posts. I mean, real-time information that's challenging and changing. The page covers it all. Okay, we have a search result that encompasses varied results, but there's one key thing here to getting picked up. You hit it on the head, structured data. Top stories, structured data markup for articles and news. Announcements, a new format of structured data that's released real time in relationship to what's occurring here and now. It's boundless. In this search result alone, there are more than 7 types, 2 of which are custom and have been in response to the current circumstance. Needless to say, structured data is what is necessary to dominate the search. So if you can't win the snippet, who cares? Optimize for structured data. So how can you help secure your SEO, future-proofing it with structured data? I'm going to give you 5 quick tips. 1, understand your content. Your content is your key to getting markup right. If you know what format you're producing content in, then it makes it easier to apply markup to, and to understand how Google will use or present your information in search results. Don't just understand your content though. You want to use that to your advantage, okay? Not just structuring it, but if your content can be distributed in a format that's already a preferred format, I don't know, like an article, guide, how-to, then select what you know works for you. Easiest way to figure that out, review the organic results. Content's malleable. You can change it. Search results, you can't change too much, but you can introduce yourself in a way that makes you stand out. If a structured format's present, it's highly likely you can invest in getting a piece of the pie. Markup everything. There are new entities being introduced regularly. We saw this across the last 5 years. So if you mark up everything, when something new gets introduced, you're likely to be ahead of the curve, which leads me to tip number 5. Be a first mover. Monitor the changes that are going on, but being a first mover puts you ahead of the game. I can prove it. DoorDash was a first mover. They introduced FAQs onto their page. As you see here, there's 2 FAQ results showing in organic results, but only one of them is using structured data. So why does that matter? DoorDash is using structured markup. They're using JSON LD. Here's where it gets better. DoorDash doesn't have any results for this query. 0 restaurants near you. However, the FAQs has it positioned as the first. Structured data wins the day. So, pro tip, focus on a scalable format. If you use JSON LD, which is the preferred format by Google, you have good reason to do so. Simple to implement, nesting becomes way less annoying, and You can nest multiple objects of the same type. Alternatively, you can also consider the fact that it's scalable without engineering all the time. You can use cloud service workers through your CDN. You can use GTM to implement it. The only downfalls, some of the associations have to be present in order for Google to show them, and property inheritance. Take it like this. You have a web page. The web page is a thing which has a menu that belongs to a local business, which is a restaurant, which is a food establishment that offers reservations, which are actually events. I think you can understand what I'm getting at here. The nesting's complicated. JSON LD makes this really easy to implement, and it simplifies it. All of that simplified. So what am I saying? The future is now, and we know it. Voice search is now, mobile is now. Everyone is using voice-enabled devices, and it continues to grow. That was something we thought 2 years ago could make it here, but we're here and now. So get ahead of the curve. I said, be a first mover. Speakable is one of 4 structured data types that are in Google's lab right now, but it's the oldest one, and it's the one that's working current state. So get started future-proofing your SEO with structured data today. That's my 20 minutes. I appreciate your time. Thank you.